Alright guys, we are starting, so please take a seat. And yeah, I think networking session after presentations. So, alright guys, welcome. My name is Justyna Broniszewska and I'm co-founder of ETHWarsaw Foundation. And today I wanted to change the formula of the meetup. And excuse me guys, we started, so if you want to talk, you can go outside, and that's okay, right. So yeah, I wanted to change a little bit the formula of the meetup, and I wanted to engage you a little bit, so I prepared like few packages of our merch, and I prepared also questions, so if you know the answer, just raise your hand and answer them, and you will get our merch. And these are quite easy questions, so you will see. But all right, so. You will see if you win it. So you will see. So welcome to the next meetup. And maybe the first question is, who knows what is the number of the meetup today? And raise your hand if you know. Yeah? 7? No, that's not the right answer. Yeah? 0x08. Exactly. So that's for you. You can come after the presentation and you will get it. Right. So today we have the meetup number 8. And as you know, probably, we'll have somewhere in the, on the timeline, we have conference and hackathon. And does any of you know what month is the conference and hackathon? August. Not August, but close. Oh, yeah, it's September. So that's for you, like also for you. So. Yeah, exactly. So in September, we have a conference and hackathon. So I hope to see you there. Good. Yeah, this for you.
Thanks. So what's the date?
Yeah, like we actually, I would say it's like September, but it starts like very, very late August. So I would say it's still September. All right. So, okay, merch for you as well. You win. All right. Of course. All right. Another question. Who is the sponsor of today's meetup? One hint is that it's always the same sponsor. Maybe someone else? Anyone knows? Maybe the same. Okay, another hint. It's also a foundation, but it's also called the same as the technology, the blockchain we all know and like. Anyone? Yeah, it's Ethereum Foundation. Exactly. Yeah, so like it's part of like their support program, and that's why they are our sponsor. All right. Here we have an agenda for today, and maybe this is more tougher question, so I can imagine that you might not know it, but who is the speaker today? Actually, speakers. Anyone? I know it's tougher, a little bit tougher. Yeah, please do. Great. Exactly, that's the right answer. So today we are hosting Artur Kozak from Ramp and also Kuba Wojciechowski and Marcin Kaźmierczak from Redstone. All right, so these are our speakers for today. And after presentations, as always, we'll have pizza, beer, and networking. So congrats to winners of the merch. Enjoy the meetup, and if you have any questions, just ask us. We are here, somewhere there. All right, thank you. And please welcome Artur on the stage.
Okay, so while I set up, maybe let's do a quick roll call. Who does not speak Polish? Okay. Yes. Does it work? Okay, but it's... But not for me. This is important. Yes, great success. Let's go, slideshow. So today I wanted to show you a little bit about smart contract integrations with on-ramps. Like already mentioned, my name is Artur. I'm the head of technology at Ramp Network. And that's it for now. First question is, why do we even need on-ramps and what are those? So we have crypto apps that use crypto, and users that have crypto, they use crypto apps with crypto. But we also have users who don't have crypto, but they do want to use the crypto apps. So how can they do that? That's where on-ramps come in to solve the user interface problems with having to set up a wallet, having to do all this technical stuff, and understand the complex user interfaces for crypto exchanges. So that's why all the on-ramp applications came to life, to make it simpler for the user to enter the crypto world. First product that we did at Ramp was called Ramp Swaps. Notice the funny Ramp logo colors that are not there anymore. It was a peer-to-peer decentralized platform where two people basically swapped fiat for crypto. They paid directly to themselves, and we just monitored these transfers using open banking technology. So that was a pretty nice solution for everyone to trustlessly get into the crypto world. But over time, we transformed it to a simpler product where you just buy crypto from us. All in all, the user wants to have crypto and not spend time on order matching and so on. This is our widget, how it looks like now. You just open it and buy crypto and you can play with it. But that's the one step that we can still probably improve upon. You first get crypto and then you play with it. So you still need to manually operate the wallet and do more steps that is necessary just to get started. So that's the topic of today's presentation. How can we do that simpler to maybe directly on-ramp to a contract? So a user, like on this diagram, can just pay $100 and then they have crypto ready for use inside the app, whatever that app is. Okay, so how to call a smart contract? This is not a good question because we all know how to call a smart contract. What do we need to call it? Obviously, we need a contract address, the function signature that was already on the previous slide, and some configuration params because we need to know what to put in this call exactly. So maybe let's try to invent something we call a contract call blueprint, and that would be used to construct calls to basically do whatever we want. We have the contract address, we have the function signature, so we know how does the function look and what parameters are expected to be passed to it. And that's all we need to know what to call. We don't need the whole contract source code, obviously. And then we have custom parameters. For example, we need to know in our system which crypto asset does this blueprint depend on. In this simple example, we depend on Ether. We sell it as a price of Ether, and we need, in our treasury, we need Ether liquidity. And then we have call options that are specific to Ethereum. In this example, we also want to pass Ether together with this call. So that's we specify the value of Ether, which is a custom property here. And then small like DSL maybe, although it's just a JSON config. What should the system put in there? In this case, it's a property of our transaction which is called a swap from ramp swaps, which I mentioned before. So we just attach one of the properties of the user transaction as the value of the ether that will be sent to the function call. And then similarly, we define what should our system put in all the call arguments. So in the first one, we put the user's wallet address that is passed to us by the user or by the integrator who integrated the ramp widget on their website. So the user doesn't have to do anything. They can just click through the app and have everything passed automatically. Those other two arguments are just examples that we can pass a constant value. But that's maybe still not too flexible. We can go even further because we can have more needs in terms of what can we pass in these parameters. For example, the application might want to know on the contract side from which user in their app was that transaction made. So imagine they have some kind of user ID. For simplicity, I put it as uint32, even though it shouldn't be nowadays. So then how it would work is that during the initialization of the widget on our website, on the application's website, to ramp SDK, they pass an additional dictionary of call parameters. In this case, there should be only one user ID, and it should be an integer. And then later, when we receive the user's funds, verify they are not a terrorist, and so on and so on, when we are about to call the contract, we will get the parameters that were delivered by the integration app and attach it to the contract call with a similar DSL-like property. Similarly to how we attached properties of the transaction, we can attach properties of the integration params right in the transaction parameters. There is one caveat though here, and it's about security. If we just left it as is, we could potentially execute anything, and even someone could maybe make a malicious integration of the ramp widget and basically make the user think they are buying something, but in reality alter the integration params that are passed to the SDK. But it should be simple to solve. We can either encrypt or sign the parameter structure. So our partner who has the crypto application, they would receive a private key from us and use that to encrypt or sign those integration params. That signed or encrypted structure would be attached to the ramp SDK initialization. And then once we receive it, we are sure that this information comes from the real integrator, not some malicious actor. And we can then validate the structure and pass it directly to the blockchain. Yeah. Still, it's not that flexible. We don't want to allow the partners to call anything, so we would need to audit the contract, like what does it do, if it is safe for us and for our users. But when it is, it offers great benefit. So that's the technical demo, but maybe let's show you how can we use it and why is it so nice for the users. So our first use case for which we actually implemented this feature was so rare. This is, if you don't know, a fantasy football game, although now they have also NBA and MLB. And they started just with football. So you basically buy expensive cards with football players and play them, play fantasy matches. But yeah, so you have a wallet in the app, and now they operate on layer 2. They operate on Stark X, if I remember correctly. But before that, they operated on layer 1 Ethereum. So the gas costs of playing would be huge. To remedy that, they used something called the omnibus wallet. So they hold all the players' funds on one contract, but it has an internal dictionary of what is whose. And that's actually the example that I showed at the beginning. There was a function called deposit ether, and it was payable, and you just had to specify for which account is that ether. And this so for the user it's easier because they make one transaction instead of two. They don't need an intermediate wallet. They could theoretically play just within the game, not having to know all the technical details about how blockchains work. And for the app it's gas savings. Yes. Another use case is similar, but a bit different. It's account activation, like for example on Gnosis Safe, which is no longer named Gnosis. I learned that today. So basically the same profit, that you only have one transaction instead of two, but also to enter the crypto world, you don't need to buy Ether beforehand just to be able to execute the account deployment verification, whatever function. We do that for you. So in one transaction, you buy Ether and you at the same time activate the account. Unfortunately, this is not so easy for other assets like tokens. Because anyway, you would first need to approve us to use your tokens after we buy them for you. So it's still possible technically, but difficult to wrap in one transaction. And last but not least, another use case is direct NFT purchases, because one of the parameters of the call that is passed every time from the application could be just the token ID, which you want to buy, and maybe even image URL, which we would show on the UI. So here also the traditional benefit is that you get one transaction instead of two, but even more beneficial is that you can have great UX integration that looks like basically you're checking out with fiat money and you buy an NFT. Yeah, so that's it from me. Maybe you have any questions, or maybe you have any clever ideas. How can this be used in other ways, and you get merch for that? But if you have questions about the technicalities or RAM swaps or anything, I will be here for a couple more minutes. And yeah.
What's the business model?
Same as for all on-ramps. It's just better. What I mean, it works the same like all on-ramps. You have a commission fee for selling crypto assets, and you can potentially have deals with the partners and the applications that integrate the widget. So basically the model is the same. You just cut yet another step in between the user having fiat and the user being happy in the crypto world.
Doesn't that saving?
Not really. It comes out to be the same. Like if we can adjust the fees. Like if the gas cost of a particular contract function is higher, we can increase the fee a bit for the user. But the real benefit we want to sell to the users in this case is the user experience. So it's as smooth as paying on eBay with PayPal, basically.
Okay, that would work. Fun, thank you. So you still have to pay for buying crypto all the time. And this way you don't have to do 2 transactions, because then you'd have to pay for buying crypto and then make additional transaction for executing the smart contract, and you can have it all bulked in one transaction with gas costs included in the main one. It saves up on time and it saves up on complexity, because people don't usually new people entering think. I'm talking because I'm also from RAM, so that's the context. I'm not inventing his presentation, but it saves up on the complexity for new users. That's the primary advantage there.
Okay, then. Anyone else? No? Thank you then. See you next time.
Hi guys, thanks for having us. I'm Kuba, the founder of Redstone, together with my friend Martin, who is doing everything at the company as the position says. So he's COO, dealing with BizDev, operations, etc. And we're going to tell you a bit about how the Oracle space changed recently, what are the updates from our product, and how do we want to shake the Oracle space. Take it away.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Marcin, and I'm going to start, then I'm going to pass it over to Kuba for talking about the juicy stuff, so the technicalities, but let me first tell you a bit more about Redstone itself and why we might be well positioned to talk about oracles in general, not only in Poland, but also like globally. So to start with, last year we raised $7 million from top Web3 funds from all over the world. It just shows the conviction from also the investors that do really throw out due diligence, that the Oracle space needs innovation, and that for many years it's been quite stagnant and dominated by one player. Our product is very customizable, which is usually not met in the Oracle space. Usually with the Oracle, you go there and you accept what's in the offering. You cannot ask for anything that would be adjusted for your use case. In our case, last year, 5 hackathons were won using Redstone as the base layer. For example, this is Lens Score, which allows you to pull data from Lens for a specific user of his past activity and calculate the score and use it in your smart contract for, I don't know, blocking bots, airdrop, or any other use case you would come up with. We've been on 22 conferences and hackathons last year, cumulatively as the team, which shows we don't sit in a garage, only in Poland or anywhere else. We talk with developers, we try to get their perspective, understand what they need, and truly build something that is up to date, not that is a legacy and then one won't just come out of the world. So actually this picture is from last year, ETHWarsaw. Last but not least, right now we gathered a team of 20 people who are seasoned, like not the newcomers or frogs on Twitter. These are like seasoned engineers. So right now we have 80% of developers in our team. So maybe let's start with what's an oracle for people that are not familiar with the concept. So oracles deliver various types of data on chain for smart contracts and dApps. As you know, like blockchains do not have natively access to information from outside world rather than this blockchain itself. So we need something that would inject that data. So we have various sources like data aggregators, centralized exchanges, any other APIs and websites that can deliver the data. There's an oracle that aggregates that, clears that, and creates any specific metric, and then delivers that to one of the ecosystems. As you know, it's not anymore just Ethereum. We have various layer 1s, but also layer 2s. And for example, delivering data to layer 1 doesn't mean you can use it on layer 2, and vice versa. Delivering to layer 2 doesn't mean you can use it on layer 1, right? So it adds like additional layers of complexity, and also like many times cost if you push the same data to many ecosystems, right? So what is the current approach? And that's the reason we want to talk about 2023, so right now, is that many oracles optimized the way to just take data, push it on chain, and then dApps that are built on this specific ecosystem can benefit from that data, querying the data that is sitting on the blockchain already, which sounds very simple, very nice, because in blockchain we need simple solutions, but it's gas inefficient and also like stifles innovation at the moment. So with 15 minutes or sometimes even like 24 hours update interval, modems in the 80s were quicker. So we cannot build the next generation financial systems on top of that. We need something that is way quicker and more adjustable for a specific use case. So because of the cost of pushing data on chain to multiple networks, so to remind you, current oracles usually take a data, like let's say price of Bitcoin, and shoots it, let's say, to 20 networks, so you can calculate the total amount of gas and cost that they have to cover. So with such a model, they have like a very limited scalability when it comes to feeds that they can offer, because if you multiply the number of feeds with number of networks that you push to with the heartbeat, then it's the number goes through the roof. And also the update time cannot be too frequent. So if you would update it, let's say every 10 seconds, then the costs would kill you. As I mentioned, natively it lacks also cross-chain interoperability. Therefore, the DeFi potential right now is truly limited by oracles. Like we have a lot of pieces in this money Legos, but oracles have been stifling it on layer 2s like ZK Sync, ERA launched recently, Arbitrum, Polygon, or other speed optimized layer 1s like Avalanche or Phantom, right? So now I'm going to give you some food for thoughts so that it's not just me talking. Ask yourself, first, who requires the data? Is it in fact the layer 1 or layer 2 that consumes the data, or the dApp that is built on top of that ecosystem? So the natural answer is the dApp requires the data for their smart contracts logic. So for example, if you just push data on Ethereum and no dApp, no smart contract uses that, you're just creating a cost, no value, right? So it's way more important to optimize for the needs of a dApp rather than a specific ecosystem. Then the second question is, following after the first, can we deliver data to dApps omitting on-chain storage? And actually we can. So we can deliver data directly to the dApp so that we don't have to have bearing the cost of storage when it's not used. So in a kind of like on-demand model. Last, if we cannot, because of specific dApp design, many cases it happens sometimes that you have to just have data on chain. So can we still optimize? Can we still deliver data on chain more in an on-demand layer way rather than just push it in a periodic sense? And it turns out, yes, we can specify various variables upon which we update data on a specific ecosystem for a particular dApp. So now I'm going to pass it to Jacob to talk about the tough stuff.
Boring stuff, yeah. So, cost of storing data on-chain. It's expensive, to put it mildly. It's horribly expensive. The blockchains based on the Ethereum architecture are never meant to optimize the storage costs, rather focusing on the transaction throughput. And jumping on the Merkle storage trees, it's not an easy operation, requires tons of input-output, therefore is heavily penalized. So storing 1 gigabit of data on Bitcoin, almost 3 million, so Ethereum is even more expensive. While when we are looking for an alternative solution, and we started working on that in late 2020, we discovered that there are blockchains specialized in storage. So the most appealing solution was available on Arweave, and actually we are paying pennies for the storage cost, and therefore we can put all of the price feeds. I think currently we've put almost like 10 billion price feeds. It's publicly accessible, it's secured by blockchain, and we paid for that probably less than $100. And still, if we store the data on another chain like Arweave, probably we'd love to use it on chains with a lot of liquidity, like the Ethereum mainnet, like Arbitrum, Avalanche, Polygon. So we need to transfer the information to these DeFi chains. And for that, we're using cold data structure, which is a part of a transaction that is actually the cheapest to pay for per amount of data passed. And if you compare it to the storage and accessing storage, and especially writing to storage, it's few orders of magnitude cheaper than the basic storage information. So in our case, the data is being kept in the cold data, verified. We perform integrity checks, whether it comes from a trusted source, whether the timestamps are up to date, and then we allow direct consumption from the cold data. And as Marcin mentioned, the old-fashioned model with data being separately pushed to different chains, it's not very scalable. So we've got new chains, new fancy chains like Arbitrum, Optimis, or ZK Synced. We need to replicate all of the infrastructure. So we need to have another set of data providers pushing the same information to different layers and then multiplying the cost of operation. While in our model, the data providers are pushing the data to our data delivery network, which consists of the streamer nodes. There are more than 50,000 nodes, which is quite resilient in terms of any malicious attacks. We also persist it permanently on Arweave. A streamer is more for the ephemeral storage. It's like a distributed PubSub network, while Arweave gives us permanence, and we also add our own gateways just to make data consumption easier. Then any app that is integrated with our solution is ready to consume that data by a very interesting way of passing it to smart contracts. So we automatically inject the signed data packages to user transaction, and then we verify that on-chain, leveraging the target chain security for the signatures validation and medianization of data across different data providers. And physically the same data packages could be consumed on various networks without any need to change the infrastructure for the protocol developers. So it makes it much easier to deploy the same solution on various networks. Oh, we got even more networks. And we've been recently talking to a lot of projects. By a lot, I've meant in our HubSpot, we got more than 150 entries. So we're speaking to developers, and actually, there isn't something like a golden standard for oracles. There used to be one, but people try to be more innovative. So we identified 3 different models of serving data. So our core model, we call it like on-demand model. Sometimes it's been referred to as a low latency model. It's based on injecting the price packages to user transaction and then verifying that on-chain. Also, we got a new model, very progressive one, which is based on the cooperation with GMX on their V2, which actually prevents any front running. I will tell maybe a bit more about it in the next slide. And we also got something called classical model, which is a step back. As a lot of projects that we've been speaking to, they said, we like your solution, guys, but our code is well audited, it's already deployed. We do not want to change even a single line of our code because that's an extra risk for the protocol. So for that, we prepared interfaces, like 100% compatible with Chainlink, but still you got a full control and flexibility to define all of the rules, how the data is being pushed on chain. So you can specify your own heartbeat, your own deviation, your own custom rules, like the data should be put after a certain event happening on chain, but you can consume in the way that the protocol is used to. And yeah, we are in the bear market. Maybe it's spring, maybe the bear is slowly waking up with the recent market update, but still the TVL in most of the protocols drops significantly. But there are some areas, some fields in the DeFi space that are experiencing a very rapid growth. It's connected to solutions like derivatives, perpetuals, options, etc. But for these protocols, especially the leverage one, they required price that cannot be front-run. So even the slightest latency creates an opportunity for the malicious actor to perform arbitrage. So they require a new model of oracles. And for them, we prepared the model X, when the interaction with a protocol consists of two steps. So first, a user record on chain an intention, for example, to open a position or to increase a position. And then we observe that intention and register from various sources the price that was on the market at the time when the intention of user was mined on chain. And then in the very next block, we deliver that price. So the price was not known to the protocol, not known to the user. It's a price from a user point of view slightly in the future, so there is no opportunity to have a better knowledge about the market and front-run oracles. And that's the price at which the intention, the request is settled. Also, what's interesting, this settlement is fully trustless. So you take a price package indexed by a block number, and you can resolve your own transaction yourself, not relying on the protocol goodwill, so the protocol cannot censor your request. So that's actually how the transaction looks like in practice. So there is like a small extra package with these crazy numbers attached to a user transaction automatically. When you are using, for example, MetaMask, you can view this part, and if you look for the details, actually you can see that inside there are the encoded prices that are going to be used in the context of your transaction. Also, we query the data from various sources. So for the most popular tokens like Ethereum, we got more than 40 sources. I think the price actually is probably from the future. So yeah, don't treat it as a investment advice, but it's funny. So we probably took this screenshot like a year ago, but actually right now it will be accurate soon. And apart from the blue chip tokens or any tokens, any crypto assets, we provide you prices of commodities, we provide you prices of currencies, we can provide prices of the crypto derivatives like liquid stake tokens, like LP tokens, etc. And although on many hackathons, people are doing some crazy stuff. So for example, in hackathon in Kiev, some developers prepared a solution based on the number of Russian losses. We also got a very interesting solution from the hackathon when someone integrated with a UK system that can give you an answer whether a person is alive or dead. So they wanted to use it for decentralized life insurance. I don't know what's the status of the project, but this was like a quite creepy use case for oracles. Anyway, it's a very flexible solution, and therefore anyone can adjust it to their needs. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe still with the previous one, you can ask why this matter? Why should we talk about it? So essentially, it opens up new opportunities for creating like projects. So if any of you is thinking about creating your own like startup or DeFi project, and for example, you would like base it on top of inflation, GDP data, or anything else, that's actually finally possible. Because before that, if you would go to Chainlink or any other like big player on the Oracle, they would say, sorry, that's too expensive for me to spin up such a feed for you, unless you're a blue chip protocol with like millions or even billions with TVL already. So if you go to DeFi Llama, for example, I suppose majority, who knows DeFi Llama? All right, majority do, so excellent. So I would say it's definitely not ideal place for statistics, but it gives at least a benchmark. So if you would go through like top 100, 150 projects, right now we chat with at least half of them about implementing the new Oracle system due to the fact that it opens up new opportunities. So for example, as Jacob mentioned, GMX, we also posted recently a proposition for Aave to integrate Redstone on Polygon ZK EVM and ZK Sync because we are available on these two networks. I see a couple of people from Scroll over here, so we are also ready to onboard them there. Actually, we were like mentioned. So it opens up just new possibilities and can spark innovation because we cannot think in terms of DeFi summer 2020 anymore, right? Like we need to have something new over there. As for what you get in this whole model, you get both off-chain and on-chain data because it's also important where the price feed or any data feed actually comes from. So we pull from only enterprise-grade data providers such as Kaiko, Flow Traders, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, and we have like way more. We integrated over 50 biggest centralized exchanges to also be up to date with the activity over there. But if you would like to, for example, utilize TWAP, which is time-weighted average price, we pull it from various cross-chain dexes. We can provide you LP tokens, liquid stake tokens, or NFT data. To give you an example, Delta Prime, it's also like a project from Poland, has been able, like Peter, who is the CEO, sits over there actually. So you can chat about Delta Prime with him later. We are going to present it, but they got tremendous traction globally in February this year when they launched because we could provide them, for example, staked AVAX on Avalanche or GLP that was not available for anyone else. So as you know, if something is trendy and you're the only one who possesses that, who can offer it to the market, then you can get a truly competitive advantage. So to recap, benefits of this model, first, it's scalable, so you can go creative with the data that you use. Right now we cover over 1,000 of assets and nothing stops us to add more. The reference interval in the core model is 10 seconds and it can go as low as 0.4 second on Arbitrum with the X model, the one that Jacob presented with no front running. And we are cross-chain by design. We don't waste gas, basically, because we know that right now we live in the omni-chain layer 1 and layer 2 world. So if you want to browse through the data that is available right now, you can go to app.redstone.finance and check out whether your favorite token is over there or anything else. We've got numerous partners already. I already mentioned like Delta Prime, ZKX on Starknet, Mula Market, and Celo. The notable ones that we are right now preparing an integration for or discussing at an advanced stage. So Mento is the biggest DeFi on Celo. They have 150 million TVL at the moment. So it's like, I think 60 on the DeFi Llama. Olympus DAO, I suppose some of you, who knows Olympus DAO? Okay, yeah, so people who've been in the space. So it's actually very clever team. And right now we are discussing with them implementing some more interesting Oracle solution based not on time, like not TWAP, rather liquidity, so LWAP, liquidity weighted average price. And yeah, like now use case of Delta Prime. So Peter will be very happy to tell you a bit more in detail, but let me break it down in 2 minutes. You've got a DApp user, it can be any of you, who has some token, let's say on Avalanche it's AVAX, so you've got one AVAX and you would like to borrow against it. So you go to Delta Prime, you spin up a Prime account, which is like a dedicated contract for you yourself. So you have one dedicated contract and you can lock your one AVAX in this contract and borrow against it up to 500%. So any reasonable person would of course go there, create a smart contract, lock up one AVAX, borrow 4 AVAX, and go away and live in Bahamas. But as you might know, it's not possible. Why? Because the smart contract doesn't allow you to go outside of the platform. So sorry for this comparison, but you can think of it as a kind of a casino. So you get in, you get chips, right? You can play inside, but you cannot go outside and pay with chips in I don't know, in a store, right? You have to cash out somehow before you go out. So there is a solvency bot that verifies your health factor before you go out. So and at any given point, when your position, for example, declines, you can get partially liquidated in order to get back to the specific health factor. So you would say, okay, compare me Aave to that. So with Aave, you have to be over collateralized, right? So you can only borrow way less than you lock, but you can do with your funds whatever you want. But actually, usually what people do with the funds they borrow is to still play, like still go to the markets, invest, try to win against the market. So with Delta Prime, once you borrowed, so imagine you had this one AVAX, you borrowed 2 AVAX, so altogether you have 3 AVAX. And with this 3 AVAX, via this dedicated smart contract, this Prime account of yours, you can go to various platforms on a specific network, let's say Avalanche, and then you can trade on, for example, Trader Joe or Pangolin. You can stake. This is super interesting. You can stake, like do leverage staking on specific platforms like Yildiak. You can do actions on GMX and so on, which allows you to basically create new DeFi strategies that are not possible with any other application. So right now Delta Prime is on Avalanche, but I know there are some, I've got some alpha that they might go to Arbitrum quite soon. So if you want to learn more about the possible to win next $1 million, you can ask Peter, not me, how to use that tool for that. Yes, I think, do you want to add anything else? I think that's it. So thanks a lot for listening. We, as mentioned, are 20 people right now, but we are hiring. So we see the demand for the product. And right now, not only engineers, like usually we hire only engineers because like we try to keep the BD team not so extensive, but currently we look for 2 marketing people. So if you are interested in like a marketing position or have anyone in your network that could be a good fit, please let us know. We have a cool office in the center of Warsaw, 160 square meters. So it's also enough space for work. And yeah, like from my side, thank you very much. And I'll pass it to Kuba.
Yeah, everyone's invited to come and join us. It's amazing journey ahead. We got fantastic team, all very experienced developers, and very nice atmosphere. So if you want to do something creative, if you want to create products here in Poland, not only outsource the boring job, yeah, we are open to talk with any of you and happy to share the details. How is it to work with us? What task could be ahead of you? So you can find us quite easily, judging by the outfit. And yeah, don't hesitate to come over. So thank you guys. It was a pleasure speaking as always.
May I ask a question? What about EAP 4844 and how far is that gonna impact your gas calculation? Are you gonna move away from cold data?
I think it's a very interesting question. Definitely we are following, this magical blob structure. But still, if you look at the whole space, there is like tons of demand for the extra data space. So I think there will be still very tough competition across of the L2s to fit into place in this blob. And it's not a very large structure. So I think for at least a few years, using this cold data will give us a lot of the advantage. But we do not only compete on the cost. As you mentioned, we are cross-trained by design. We want to build innovative stuff. We got our own aggregation methodologies, etc. So we are not scared. Actually, we'd love to have this blob data, as we can put even more data to the mainnet, which is still expensive. But I do not expect, let's say, a significant drop in terms of the data storage before there is a proper sharding. And as you know, we are still waiting. And they just add new prefixes for the sharding. So it's to be dunk sharding, now it's proto-dunk sharding. I don't know what's going to be the next step.
And what about the impact that it's going to have on your pricing and your competitiveness with respect to Chainlink?
So, as I mentioned, I do not expect that this structure, this blob, will be as cheap as our solution. Probably the storage could be like 5 times or maybe 10 times cheaper. But still, if we look at our current storage costs with this data delivery network, they're like, I think, few thousand, maybe 10,000 times cheaper. So that's not going to directly affect us. And with the chaining prices, it's a very interesting model, actually. If you, and I advise everyone to look in the market, because recently there is a new staking solution done by chaining, but it's like capped on, I don't know, like 50 on 100,000, but there's like more than 5 billion tokens waiting to be staked. So the Oracle space is going to be open pretty soon, as chaining cannot afford to subsidize it all. So it's an amazing opportunity for us to go and take some market. And definitely we see that there will be some fresh air in the Oracle space soon.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
The risk profile. So if you look actually at the source of data, which is probably the most important part, so chaining utilizes only, let's say, the aggregators. So for example, for some of the price feed, they only use CoinGecko, while we got the flexibility to even manually specify all of the necessary feeds and use different methodologies. So although chaining is being considered as a gold standard in terms of security, some of the teams that reach out to us were badly affected by the manipulation that happened when the chaining utilized only a single source. So one of them, for example, it's public data, was like an Olympus DAO that was badly affected despite using the chaining prices. So in our view, when chaining focuses more at the business development as the stability of the infrastructure, sometimes you need to put more attention at the raw quality of your data and try to use better metrics than the volume weight trading, which could be easily manipulated.
Also, like as I'm showing right now on our app, we put Chainlink for some assets as a benchmark, so you can see like the discrepancies. So one that we by default suggest is median, but you can check like specifically, for example, for Binance or any other source. And it's always funny to look like for last hour, like as Chainlink updates the price, you know, like with quite long intervals, you know, that hour is discrete, and you know, like Chainlink is just like this jumps. Any other questions?
Chainlink is a decentralized solution, and your solution is not decentralized. Is it important?
It's very important, and maybe we did a really awful job, as you got the impression that it's like centralized, as we got multiple nodes running at the moment, and the data is even aggregated on-chain. So you do not take data from a single source. You take data from multiple data providers. All of them are incentivized with our tokens, so they could be slashed in case of there's any malicious activity on their side. And we take multiple price feeds, multiple packages, and aggregate that finally on-chain. So we never ever recommend using a single data provider as a source, and we do not do that in production, and we strongly believe that you need the redundancy and the centralization for the safety of your price feeds.
Your advice is that I need your solution and Chainlink, right?
I think it's up to protocol whether they want to use more than one Oracle vendor. What I'm saying is that we got multiple data provider nodes, and also you got a full control of selection of which nodes do you want to trust. While, for example, in Chainlink, the actual combination of data providers is controlled by some syndicate. So you as a protocol, you cannot manually pick which data providers you would like to use. So there is absolutely no control. So in our view, we got this decentralization of control. We lie that in the hands of protocol owners. And if you are asking whether it's better to use more than a single Oracle vendor, probably yes. I don't think that anyone can claim that it's perfect, and there are a lot of solutions that currently take into account something like a fallback provider or like a multi-provider for data feeds.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for presentation.
Any other questions? Then thank you. Thank you, guys. And the winners, please come here so you can get your prize.